The morning sun cast long shadows across the Houston Space Command Center as Commander Lisa Howard stared at the massive display screen. Her blue eyes narrowed at the strange readings coming from near Jupiter's orbit. Something was different today. The usual satellite data showed unusual energy signatures, patterns unlike anything she had seen in her 15 years of space monitoring. "Sir, you need to see this," called out Ryan Peters, one of the younger technicians. His hands moved quickly across the control panel as he enhanced the image. "These signals, they're not natural." Lisa leaned forward, her heart beating faster as she studied the data. The energy signatures were moving in formation, too precise to be random space debris or solar interference. As she watched, more signals appeared, forming what could only be described as a fleet of vessels. "Get me the Joint Chiefs," she ordered, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "And someone wake up the president." Within hours, every major military installation on Earth was on high alert. The mysterious fleet had crossed Saturn's orbit and was moving steadily toward Earth. Attempts at communication had gone unanswered, and the silence was more terrifying than any hostile response could have been. On the USN Deep Space Vessel, Intrepid, stationed near Mars, Captain Jack Morrison watched the approaching fleet through the ship's advanced sensors. The Intrepid was humanity's newest warship, equipped with the best technology Earth had to offer. But as he counted the number of alien vessels approaching, he knew they were vastly outmatched. Tactical analysis, he called out to his crew. "Sir, I'm counting over 300 vessels," responded Lieutenant Amanda Wright from her station. "The smallest one is roughly 3 times the size of our largest carrier." Jack felt a chill run down his spine, but kept his expression neutral for his crew's sake. They had trained for first contact scenarios, but nothing had prepared them for this scale of encounter. The alien fleet's approach slowed as they reached Mars' orbit. Then, without warning, every communication system on Earth and in space crackled to life. A deep, resonating voice spoke in perfect English, its tone carrying an unmistakable note of superiority. "People of Earth, we are the Axrathi Empire. Your planet now falls within our designated expansion zone. Submit to our authority, or face immediate extinction. You have 1 Earth rotation to respond." The message repeated in every major language on Earth, leaving no doubt about its authenticity or intentions. In the chaos that followed, Earth's military leaders scrambled to formulate a response. In an emergency meeting at the United Nations, representatives from every nation gathered to face this unprecedented threat. The choice seemed impossible: surrender humanity's freedom or face annihilation from an overwhelmingly superior force. But Jack Morrison had noticed something during the transmission. As the alien ships broadcasted their message, their energy shields fluctuated in a distinct pattern. He recorded the data and sent it to Earth's best scientists for analysis. Dr. Susan Carter at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory was the first to recognize the significance of Jack's observation. The Axrathi shields operated on a predictable frequency, a potential weakness that could be exploited if only they had the right weapons. 23 hours after the ultimatum, Earth gave its answer. In a globally broadcasted response, the United Nations Secretary-General stood before the world. "To the Axrathi Empire, humanity has faced countless challenges throughout our history. Each time, we have emerged stronger. We will not surrender our freedom. We choose to fight." The response was immediate. The Axrathi fleet launched their first attack on Earth's outer defense stations near Mars. The battle that followed would be remembered as humanity's brutal introduction to galactic warfare. The Intrepid, along with Earth's other military vessels, engaged the alien ships in humanity's first interstellar battle. Their weapons seemed ineffective against the Axrathi's advanced shields, but Jack Morrison's earlier observation proved valuable. During a desperate maneuver to avoid enemy fire, Jack noticed something extraordinary. When his ship's engines created a specific electromagnetic pulse frequency, the nearest Axrathi vessel's shields weakened momentarily. "All ships," he broadcast on the secure channel, Modify your engine output to match these frequencies. Aim for their ships when their shields flicker. The battle raged for hours. Earth's forces suffered heavy losses, but they managed to destroy 3 Xrathi vessels using Jack's discovery, something the aliens had clearly not expected. The Xrathi fleet withdrew to regroup, leaving Earth's forces battered but not beaten. In the aftermath, as damage reports flooded in from Earth's defensive installations, a new sense of purpose emerged. Humanity had lost the first battle, but they had discovered something crucial. The Xrathi weren't invincible. At an emergency meeting in the Pentagon, military leaders gathered to analyze the battle data. Lisa Howard, now coordinating Earth's space defense strategies, presented Jack's findings to the assembled officers. The Xrathi may have superior technology, she declared, but they've grown overconfident. They don't expect us to adapt, to find creative solutions. That will be their downfall. As the first day of the war ended, Earth's scientists and military leaders worked tirelessly to develop new weapons and strategies. The Xrathi had expected an easy conquest. Instead, they had awakened humanity's greatest strength, the ability to innovate and adapt in the face of overwhelming odds. In space, aboard the damaged but still operational Intrepid, Jack Morrison watched his crew repair their systems. They had survived the first battle, but he knew this was just the beginning. The real war was about to start, and humanity would need every trick and innovation they could devise to survive. The Xrathi Empire had made a crucial mistake. They had assumed that superior technology and numbers guaranteed victory. They hadn't counted on human ingenuity, determination, and the fierce drive to protect their freedom. As the Earth prepared for the battles to come, one thing became clear. This war would change the face of galactic combat forever. Dr. Susan Carter hadn't slept in 3 days. The lights in her lab at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory flickered as she studied the data from the recent battle near Mars. Coffee cups littered her desk, and her computer screen showed complex patterns of energy waves from the Xrathi shields. "There's something here," she muttered, rubbing her tired eyes. "We just need to find it." The door to her lab opened, and Peter Wright, a young engineer fresh out of MIT, walked in with a new stack of battle recordings. His enthusiasm hadn't dimmed despite the dire situation Earth faced. "Dr. Carter, I think I found something in the Intrepid's sensor logs," he said, pulling up a file on the main screen. "Look at these energy patterns when their shields fail." Susan's eyes widened as she watched the replay. The Xrathi shields didn't just fail. They shifted out of phase for a fraction of a second before reactivating. It wasn't a malfunction. It was part of their design. "Peter, you're a genius," she said, quickly typing calculations into her computer. "Their shields work like a quantum wave function. They're not really solid. They exist in multiple states at once." The discovery sparked a revolution in human weapons technology. Over the next few weeks, Susan and Peter worked with military engineers to develop a new targeting system. Instead of trying to overpower the Xrathi shields, they would exploit the brief moments when the shields shifted phases. At the Nevada testing grounds, the first prototype of their quantum targeting system was ready for testing. Military leaders from around the world gathered to witness the demonstration. Among them was Commander Lisa Howard, who had been promoted to oversee Earth's defense strategy. "The system uses quantum entanglement to predict shield phase shifts," Susan explained to the assembled officials. "When the alien shields change states, our weapons will automatically fire at exactly the right moment." The test target, built to mimic Xrathi shield technology, stood in the desert. When the new weapon fired, its beam passed through the shield as if it wasn't there, striking the target with perfect accuracy. The room erupted in applause, but Peter was already thinking ahead. "We can make this better," he told Susan. "What if we applied this to smaller fighters? Something the Xrathi wouldn't expect." Work began immediately on a new class of spacecraft. Peter led the design team, creating small, agile fighters equipped with the quantum targeting system. They were unlike anything humanity had built before, sleek, fast, and nearly invisible to HFY sensors. The first squadron of these new ghost fighters was ready just in time. The HFY had regrouped and were launching a massive assault on Earth's defenses near Saturn. They expected to face the same primitive human weapons they'd encountered before. They were wrong. Captain Alice Martinez led the first Ghost Squadron into battle. Her voice was steady as she gave orders to her pilots. Remember your training. Wait for the targeting computer to confirm shield phase shift, then strike. The HFY fleet approached with their usual arrogant confidence. Their massive ships moved in rigid formation, shields glowing with seemingly impenetrable energy. They didn't notice the small human fighters hiding among Saturn's rings. All units, engage on my mark, Alice commanded. She watched her targeting display, waiting for the perfect moment. 3, 2, 1. Mark. The ghost fighters struck like lightning. Their weapons bypassed the HFY shields completely, striking vital systems with surgical precision. 3 enemy ships exploded before they even realized they were under attack. How is this possible? The HFY commander's confused voice boomed across the communication channels. Their weapons are penetrating our shields. The battle that followed was unlike anything either species had seen before. The ghost fighters darted between the massive alien ships, striking with impossible accuracy. For every fighter the HFY managed to destroy, they lost several of their own vessels. Back on Earth, Susan and Peter watched the battle data stream in. Their system was working better than they had hoped. The HFY shields, once thought impenetrable, now offered little protection against human ingenuity. We need to mass-produce these immediately, Lisa Howard ordered, watching the battle unfold. Every ship in the fleet needs to be equipped with this technology. The victory near Saturn marked a turning point in the war. For the first time, the HFY fleet retreated in disarray, their confidence shaken. They had never encountered a species that could adapt so quickly, that could turn their own technology against them. In the weeks that followed, factories around the world worked around the clock to produce more ghost fighters. Peter continued to refine the design, making them even more effective. Susan's quantum targeting system became more precise with each iteration. The HFY responded by changing their shield frequencies, but it didn't matter. The human targeting systems adapted automatically, finding the phase shifts no matter how the aliens modified their defenses. News of the human victory spread across the galaxy. Other species, long intimidated by HFY power, began to take notice. Some even secretly reached out to Earth, offering information about HFY fleet movements and technology. In her lab, Susan looked at the latest battle reports with satisfaction. We're not just fighting their technology anymore, she told Peter. We're changing the fundamental rules of space combat. Peter nodded, already sketching designs for his next innovation. The HFY think war is about having the biggest ships and the strongest shields. We're showing them it's about adaptation, about finding new ways to solve problems. On the front lines, Alice Martinez and her Ghost Squadron continued to strike fear into the HFY fleet. The aliens had begun to hesitate before engaging human forces, unsure what new tactics they might face. The revolution in space combat had begun. Humanity, once dismissed as primitive by the HFY Empire, had proven that innovation and adaptability were more powerful than any shield technology. The war was far from over, but for the first time, Earth had real hope of victory. As Lisa Howard looked out at the stars from her command center, she smiled. The HFY had thought they were dealing with a simple, primitive species. Instead, they had awakened humanity's greatest weapon. The power to revolutionize everything they touched, even the nature of warfare itself. Admiral Gregory Collins stood at the bridge of his command ship, the Defiant, studying a holographic map of the solar system. Red dots showed HFY fleet positions, while blue markers indicated Earth's forces. After the success of the Ghost Fighters, the aliens had changed their tactics, spreading their ships in smaller groups to minimize losses. They're adapting to our attacks, he said to his strategic officer, Lieutenant Annie Patterson. So we need to adapt faster. Amy nodded, her expression thoughtful. At 32, she was young for her position, but she had earned it through brilliant tactical planning. Sir, I have an idea. The Axrathi still think in terms of large-scale fleet battles. What if we fight differently? She moved her hands through the holographic display, highlighting different areas of space. Instead of meeting them head-on, we strike from shadows, disappear, then strike again somewhere else. Space guerrilla warfare. The Admiral's eyes lit up as he understood her plan. Earth's ships might be fewer in number, but they could be everywhere and nowhere at once. The vast emptiness of space would become their ally. Within days, Earth's fleet split into small, mobile strike teams. Each group carried a mix of ghost fighters and larger support ships. They practiced new tactics, learning to appear from behind asteroids, strike hard, and vanish before the Axrathi could respond. On the outskirts of the asteroid belt, Amy led the first mission to test these new tactics. Her team included 3 ghost fighters and a modified stealth transport. Their target was an Axrathi supply convoy. All units, radio silence from here on. She whispered into her comm system. Her ship drifted silently through space, its engines cold. They looked like just another cluster of rocks among millions. The Axrathi ships approached slowly, their crews confident in their superior technology. They didn't notice the human vessels hidden among the asteroids until it was too late. Now, Amy ordered. Her team burst into action. The ghost fighters struck the convoy's engines while her transport ship launched a barrage of new quantum-guided missiles. In less than 5 minutes, the entire convoy was destroyed or disabled. "Pack up and move out," she commanded. Different hiding spot for the next raid. Her team vanished into the darkness of space before Axrathi reinforcements could arrive. Similar attacks happened across the solar system. Human strike teams appeared from nowhere, hit their targets, and disappeared. The Axrathi never knew where the next attack would come from. Their mighty fleet began to feel vulnerable. Back on Earth, Admiral Collins received reports of successful raids from dozens of teams. "The Axrathi are getting nervous," he told his officers. "Their ships are starting to bunch up for protection." That's exactly what we want. Amy's team had the most daring mission yet, infiltrating an Axrathi command ship. They had captured several smaller alien vessels, and Earth's engineers had learned enough about their technology to attempt something unprecedented. "We've modified the transport ship to broadcast Axrathi recognition signals," she explained to her team. "We'll pose as a damaged patrol vessel requesting emergency docking." The plan was dangerous. But if it worked, they could steal vital intelligence about Axrathi fleet movements and communication codes. The modified transport approached the massive Axrathi command ship, broadcasting distress signals in their language. The alien vessel's docking bay opened, and Amy's ship landed among several Axrathi craft. Her team, dressed in captured alien armor, moved quickly through the ship's corridors. Years of studying Axrathi ship layouts from Batala data had prepared them for this moment. While part of her team created a distraction in the engine room, Amy and 2 others reached the command ship's data center. They plugged in special devices designed by Earth's scientists to copy the alien database. "Download complete," whispered one of her team members. But they're starting to realize something's wrong. Alarms began blaring throughout the ship. "Plan B," Amy ordered. Rather than try to sneak out, they fought their way back to their transport. The ghost fighters hidden nearby started their attack run, creating chaos that covered their escape. They emerged from the command ship with something even more valuable than they had hoped: the complete codes for Axrathi fleet communications. Earth's cryptographers could now listen to every transmission between enemy ships. The stolen data revealed something surprising. Other alien species, impressed by humanity's resistance, had begun refusing to trade with the Axrathi Empire. Some were secretly offering aid to Earth. The Axrathi commanders were furious. Their reports showed increasing losses, and their once mighty fleet was being worn down by constant hit-and-run attacks. They could no longer move freely through the solar system without fear of ambush. During one raid, a human strike team encountered something unexpected. An alien ship that wasn't X-Rathi. The vessel belonged to the Centauri, a species that had suffered under X-Rathi expansion. They offered advanced shield technology in exchange for human tactical training. Amy's successful raid had another unexpected effect. Other alien species saw that the mighty X-Rathi weren't invincible. More began reaching out to Earth, sharing technology and intelligence. The galaxy was changing, and humanity had caused it. Admiral Collins received a special message from the United Nations. Earth's leaders had made contact with a coalition of species who opposed X-Rathi expansion. They wanted to form an alliance, with humans training their forces in the new style of space combat. "We're not just fighting for Earth anymore," he told his officers. "We're showing the galaxy a new way to resist tyranny." In their mighty ships, the X-Rathi commanders faced a difficult truth. They had expected to crush a primitive species. Instead, they had found themselves in a new kind of war, one where their traditional advantages meant little. Amy looked out at the stars from her ship's viewport, thinking about how much had changed. Humanity had entered this war as the underdogs, expected to submit or die. Now they were teaching other species how to fight back against their oppressors. The turning point had come. The X-Rathi Empire was facing something they had never encountered before. An enemy that grew stronger with each battle, that learned and adapted faster than they could. The real question was no longer whether humanity would survive, but how much the galaxy would change because of their resistance. Captain Daniel Russell watched from his command chair as hundreds of small lights blinked on his tactical display. Each light represented a drone, part of Earth's newest weapon in the war against the X-Rathi Empire. The drones were simple machines, but together they formed something revolutionary: the Ghost Swarm. "All drone squadrons report ready," his tactical officer announced. "Control systems are green." Daniel nodded, his expression determined. "Begin Operation Thunderstrike." Across the solar system, similar scenes played out on other human ships. Earth's forces had spent months preparing for this moment. The time had come to take the fight to the enemy. Commander Catherine Hayes, working from her stealth command ship near Neptune, had made the breakthrough that made this possible. She discovered that X-Rathi ships relied heavily on automated systems to coordinate their fleet movements. "Their strength is also their weakness," she explained during the final briefing. "Their ships are connected through a central network. If we can disrupt that network, their entire fleet will be thrown into chaos." The Ghost Swarm was humanity's answer. Thousands of small, automated drones, each carrying a mixture of electronic warfare equipment and small weapons. Alone, they were almost harmless. Together, they could overwhelm any defense system. Daniel watched as the first wave of drones approached a major X-Rathi battle group. The alien ships detected the swarm but seemed confused about how to respond. Their powerful weapons were designed to fight capital ships, not clouds of tiny targets. "Launch electronic attack," he ordered. The drones activated their jammers, flooding X-Rathi communications with noise. At the same time, they began broadcasting false sensor readings, making it impossible for the alien ships to distinguish real threats from false ones. Aboard the X-Rathi vessels, confusion turned to panic. Their linked combat systems began to fail as the drone swarm disrupted their networks. Ship captains could no longer coordinate their actions or receive orders from their commanders. "Ghost Fleet, this is Strike Leader," Daniel broadcast to the hidden human ships waiting nearby. "The enemy is blind. Begin your attack runs." Human warships appeared from their hiding places around the solar system. They had been waiting for this moment, using the tactics developed by Admiral Collins and Lieutenant Patterson. The Ghost Fighters led the charge, their quantum targeting systems finding weak points in the confused X-Rathi formation. Catherine's command ship coordinated the assault, using the knowledge gained from months of intercepting enemy communications. She could predict exactly how the X-Rathi would try to respond. "They're attempting to reboot their network," she reported. "Swarm Group 3, target their command and control ships. Don't let them restore communications. The drones move like a living thing, splitting and reforming as they harass the alien fleet. Some sacrificed themselves to block enemy weapons, while others attached to ship hulls and interfered with sensor systems. On Earth, military leaders watched the battle unfold with growing excitement. This was more than just another raid. It was the beginning of a major offensive to push the Axrathi out of the solar system. The alien fleet tried to retreat, but found their escape routes blocked by more drone swarms. Human ships attacked from multiple directions, using the chaos to their advantage. The Axrathi's superior numbers meant nothing when they couldn't effectively coordinate their forces. Multiple enemy ships disabled. Daniel's tactical officer reported. Their formation is breaking apart. The battle lasted for hours. When it ended, the largest Axrathi battle group in the solar system had been completely defeated. Dozens of alien ships were destroyed or captured, while others fled in disarray. News of the victory spread quickly. The Centauri and other alien allies were amazed. No one had ever defeated an Axrathi main battle fleet before. The human approach to warfare, combining small unit tactics with swarm technology and electronic warfare, had changed the rules of space combat. Catherine's analysis of the captured ships revealed more good news. The Axrathi were running low on resources. Their supply lines were stretched thin, disrupted by constant raids and growing resistance from other species. Their empire is starting to crack, she told the United Earth Defense Council. They've never faced a war like this. Their whole strategy depends on quick victories through overwhelming force. They don't know how to fight a long, adaptive campaign. The human offensive continued. More drone swarms were launched, targeting Axrathi supply lines and communication hubs. The alien fleet was forced to retreat further and further from Earth, losing ships and territory with each engagement. Daniel's ghost fleet grew as more ships were built and alien allies joined the fight. He trained crews from other species in human tactics, showing them how to use their own technology in new and innovative ways. The Axrathi think war is about who has the biggest ships and strongest weapons, he explained to a group of Centauri officers. But we've proved that imagination and adaptability are more powerful than any weapon. The combined fleets began pushing toward the edge of the solar system. The Axrathi tried to adapt, creating their own drone systems, but they were always one step behind. Humanity had changed the nature of space warfare, and their enemies couldn't catch up. Catherine's command ship intercepted desperate messages from the Axrathi High Command. Their empire was facing rebellions in other star systems, inspired by Earth's example. Species that had lived in fear of the Axrathi for generations were learning to fight back. We're not just winning our war, she realized. We're starting a revolution across the galaxy. As the final phase of Operation Thunderstrike began, Daniel looked at the tactical display showing human and allied ships advancing across the solar system. The Axrathi were retreating toward the Kuiper Belt, gathering their remaining forces for one last stand. They still don't understand, he said to his crew. They think if they gather enough ships in one place, they can overwhelm us with pure force. But that's not how we fight. The stage was set for the final battle. Humanity had learned and adapted, turning their weaknesses into strengths. The Axrathi Empire was about to learn its final lesson about underestimating a supposedly primitive species. The cold expanse of the Kuiper Belt stretched before the combined human and allied fleet. Ice and rock debris floated in the darkness, creating a natural maze of obstacles. Behind these frozen barriers waited the remaining Axrathi forces, preparing for their final stand. Lieutenant Chris Martinez sat in the cockpit of his ghost fighter, running final checks on his systems. After months of battles, his ship showed signs of wear, but the quantum targeting system still worked perfectly. He led the most successful fighter squadron in Earth's fleet, with over 30 confirmed kills of Axrathi vessels. All Ghost Squadron pilots report in, he called over the comm system. One by one, his pilots confirmed they were ready. They would lead the first wave of the attack, clearing a path for the drone swarms and larger ships. Admiral Collins' voice came over the fleet-wide channel. "All ships, this is Fleet Command. The Exrathi have rejected our final offer of surrender. Today we end this war. For Earth, and for freedom across the galaxy. Begin the attack." Chris watched his tactical display as thousands of points of light began to move. The massive drone swarms led the way, followed by waves of ghost fighters. Behind them, capital ships from Earth and their alien allies moved into position. The Exrathi fleet waited in a tight defensive formation. They had learned from their previous defeats and positioned their ships to provide overlapping fields of fire. But humanity had learned too, and they had one final surprise prepared. Commander Catherine Hayes' voice crackled over the secure channel. "Initiating Operation Blackout now." Hidden among the drone swarms were special electronic warfare units, far more powerful than anything used before. When they activated, they didn't just jam Exrathi communications. They completely overwhelmed their sensor systems. The alien fleet suddenly found themselves fighting blind. Their advanced targeting systems showed thousands of false contacts. Every asteroid looked like it might be hiding a ghost fighter. Every patch of empty space could contain a cloaked human ship. Chris led his squadron through the chaos, using the cover of the electronic warfare to strike key targets. "Focus on their command ships," he ordered. "Don't let them coordinate their defense." The battle spread across a huge area of space. Human ships darted between asteroids, using the terrain to their advantage. The drone swarms split and reformed, keeping the Exrathi forces divided and confused. But the aliens fought back hard. Their superior weapons could still destroy any human ship they managed to hit. Chris watched as several of his fellow pilots vanished in bright flashes of light, caught by lucky shots from the enemy. The turning point came when Catherine's command ship detected a gap in the Exrathi formation. A group of their ships had moved out of position, creating a weakness in their defense line. "All units, converge on Sector 7, Admiral Collins ordered. "This is our chance to split their fleet." Chris led his remaining fighters toward the gap, but powerful enemy fire blocked their path. The Exrathi had realized their mistake and were trying desperately to close the hole in their lines. In that moment, Chris made a decision that would be remembered in history books. "Ghost Squadron, cover the fleet. I'm going to clear a path." Before anyone could stop him, he fired his engines to maximum power and flew straight at the enemy formation. His fighter systems overloaded as he pushed them beyond their limits, but he held course. "Chris, fall back." Catherine's voice called over the comm. "You'll never survive that much fire." "Someone has to do this," he replied calmly. "The fleet needs this opening. It's been an honor serving with you all." His ghost fighter streaked through space like a bullet, drawing every enemy weapon in range. The quantum targeting system screamed warnings as his shields failed, but he kept going. In his final moments, he triggered his ship's self-destruct sequence. The explosion was massive, far bigger than a normal fighter should have caused. Chris had packed his ship with extra explosives for exactly this purpose. The blast created a huge electromagnetic pulse that disabled the nearby Exrathi ships, opening a clear path for the human fleet. "All ships, advance," Admiral Collins ordered, his voice thick with emotion. "Don't let his sacrifice be in waste." The combined fleet poured through the gap, splitting the Exrathi formation in two. The battle became a rout as the alien ships tried to retreat in different directions, but found themselves cut off by drone swarms and ghost fighters. Catherine's command ship intercepted the final message from the Exrathi admiral, a formal surrender. After nearly a year of war, humanity had achieved the impossible. They had defeated one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. The aftermath of the battle brought dramatic changes to the galaxy. The Exrathi Empire collapsed as other species rose up against them, using tactics learned from humans. Earth became a major power, not through conquest, but by teaching others how to resist tyranny. Admiral Collins stood before the United Nations 3 days after the victory, delivering a speech that would be remembered for generations. "We won this war not because we were stronger or more advanced," he said, "but because we never stopped learning, never stopped adapting." The HFY thought war was about power. We showed them it was about innovation and determination. In the years that followed, Earth established a military academy that attracted students from across the galaxy. Species that had once looked down on humans now sent their best and brightest to learn the art of adaptive warfare. Chris Martinez was posthumously awarded Earth's highest military honor. His tactics were studied by new generations of pilots who learned that victory sometimes required the ultimate sacrifice. Catherine Hayes led the development of a new galactic defense network designed to protect peaceful species from aggression. Her work on electronic warfare and fleet coordination became the foundation of modern space combat doctrine. The galaxy entered a new era of peace and cooperation, but it remained ready to defend itself. In orbit around Earth, shipyards continued to produce ghost fighters and drone swarms, ensuring that humanity would never again be seen as an easy target. The stars had witnessed a revolution in warfare, sparked by a species that refused to submit to tyranny. Humanity had proven that determination, creativity, and the willingness to adapt could overcome any technological advantage. As new alien ships arrived at Earth's military academy, they passed a simple monument floating in space. It showed a ghost fighter, eternally watching over the planet it had helped to defend. The inscription read, "To those who taught the galaxy that the strongest weapon is the human spirit." The HFY War had changed everything. But more importantly, it had shown that no empire, no matter how powerful, could stand against a species determined to forge its own destiny among the stars.